Good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 4th, 2013 Lake Washington School District Board of Directors meeting. All board members are present. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our agenda is approved as printed. And we then...
Yes, so we're going to start with our host school tonight, and we are pleased that Nell Ballard-Jones, principal of Emerson Campus, is here to present this evening. And because after the host school presentation we have student recognition, we're going to be moving down to the first couple of rows here, so that way when students are recognized, we can see and hear them as they're recognized. So we're going to take just a minute while you're getting ready to move down there, and then you can get started now. Thanks.
Turn our mics off.
Good evening, I'm Nell Ballard-Jones. As Dr. Pierce said, I am the principal of the 3 schools on the Emerson campus in the Houghton neighborhood, and tonight I'm going to talk about 2 of the 3. And because I'm talking about 2 schools, I was given a little bit of leeway because it'll bump a little bit over time, but that's because the schools are so different. So sort of some context for the campus. We have 3 very different choice schools on our campus: North Star Middle School, which I'm not talking about tonight, Emerson K-12, formerly Family Learning Center, and Emerson High School, which I'm talking about tonight. There are 3 physical offices on the campus, 3 physical classroom spaces, but there's only one principal, and that's me. So I'm going to start by talking about Emerson K-12, which is a kindergarten through 12th grade public school in the district. It is the only K-12 school in the district. I have staff member and parent here tonight. We are a parent partnership program, and we operate under the WAC for Alternative Learning Experiences, which means that we have a different funding and accountability model than your neighborhood school that's funded under basic ed. How does a parent partnership work? Our intent is to partner with families to educate children under the auspices of the school district and with the support of the school district. We have district certificated staff, we use district curriculum, but we also value and monitor the learning that's happening at home as well as what's happening on site. For the purposes of tonight and sort of the big context, the most important part of the ALE WAC that applies to our school is what's called the Written Student Learning Plan. And the student learning plan is for every single student at school. It's an individualized plan that identifies the learning and the assessment and the calendar of what kids are going to be doing both at school and at home. And it's monitored weekly and monthly. Quick facts: we've been around since 1997, started in the basement of a church in Bellevue. Again, we're K-12. We have an enrollment of about 140 students, both full-time and part-time, which looks different than full-time and part-time at a neighborhood school. We have both core classes, English, social studies, science, math, and electives like ceramics and drama. We have small class sizes and a very community atmosphere. So just sort of to give some context of sort of where our parent partnership falls on the spectrum of educational choices, all the way on the right-hand side, you've got independent home-based instruction. Those are families that are operating under the home-based instruction law. They fill out a declaration of intent to homeschool, and they do everything themselves outside of the district. We are much closer to the other side of the spectrum, which is public school, but not quite your regular neighborhood school. Big differences between the ALE and home-based instruction. The ALE WAC is a statute. It's constantly being adjusted. This is my 4th year as principal, and this is the 4th version of the WAC that we have had to learn. We follow state standards and assessments. Our certificated teacher is responsible for that learning plan, for the creation of the plan and monitoring. And we have a school setting and structure. Kids come to classes, they show up in classes, they do homework. Home-based instruction, on the other hand, is a law. It's not constantly being adjusted. It is parent choice for curriculum and assessments. Parents are responsible and have legal control over everything that the student does. It's flexible and autonomous in setting and structure. So the major pieces of our work at Emerson K-12 are rigorous standards-based instruction, like most schools, direct instruction that happens at school, but in addition, supporting parents in the work that they're doing at home with students. We also obviously have to keep in touch with what's happening at the state level and keep in compliance with the WAC, which is changing all the time. And participating in Lake Washington School District initiatives like the SMOS or EMOS, curriculum adoptions, and modifying and accommodating as needed. For example, we have the SMOS for our secondary students, but we're on a cart-based model because we don't have students on site every day, and some kids might not be taking full academic load of classes, so it didn't make sense for all of our students to have a netbook to take home. But we do have carts, and they do have access while they're at school. What's also part of our work constantly is public relations and information, both within our district and outside our district. I spend a lot of time every week on the phone with principals from other schools in the district, asking about homeschooling, asking about parent partnership, asking about the rules, asking about the laws, sort of identifying what we can do and what we cannot do. Some of our successes, stability of consistent leadership. So I've been there, this is my 4th year. Christina Thomas was there for a year before me, and then there was a series of other folks before that, so just the stability I think has been helpful. The support of the central leadership team. We have a dedicated and collaborative staff, increased participation in academic coursework for families. So in the 4 years that I've been there, students have much more gravitated toward highly academic coursework as opposed to just sort of the electives. We have increased participation in parent professional development. Last year we did a series of things with one of my certificated teachers on getting parents familiar with the Common Core state standards so that they could be familiar with the language we were using at school, but also use those standards in the work that they were doing at home. And we have more folks participating in state and district assessments, and we now have access to LWSD initiatives. In the past, Emerson K-12, at that point, Family Learning Center was not included in the regular curriculum adoption cycles, for example. Our challenges, keeping up with the WAC. There's been a change in funding formulas most of the 4 years. At one point, parents were able to get reimbursements for curriculum items that they purchased. We can't do that anymore. We also have a lot of neighboring districts that have parent partnerships that have different perspectives or interpretations of the WAC, and so there's a little bit of sort of competition between schools about who gets most people because who follows the rules differently or understands the rules differently. And then in working with folks here at the Resource Center, we're working constantly with people in different offices. We work in the budget office and then the data office because all of these pieces in terms of reporting for ALE are really overlapping. We also have a challenge of staffing and scheduling. We follow, obviously, the federal highly qualified requirements for teachers, but in addition to teachers teaching full-time teachers teaching probably 6 or 7 preps a week, they also are monitoring learning plans of 30 to 60 kids. We also have multi-age course options. All of our classes are by grade band, so there has to be a lot of differentiation that happens. And over the last 4 years, we've had a reduction of almost a third of our staff is now gone because we've shrunk. What's also a challenge is sort of staying on top of the changing needs and demographics. When Emerson K-12 first started, it was primarily a program for families who were traditional homeschoolers that just wanted classes that they couldn't do at home, like ceramics or lab science. And now it's folks that are coming from private school or public neighborhood schools and just wanting a different fit. What the data says and does not say. So, as I said, we participate in state testing, MSP, HSPE, EOC. We collect graduation data. However, all of those statistics are impacted by small number sample size. Most of our grade levels have fewer than 30 kids. We have a decreasing but still significant number of families that opt out of at least one of the subject area tests every year. And we don't have consistent cohort data because we don't have kids that necessarily stay for 12 years in the system. In terms of the high school diploma and graduation data, students have 3 options for getting their diploma. One's the district diploma, one's the AA Running Start diploma, one's a homeschool diploma. If students opt for the second or third option, they show up as dropouts on our data, even though they're getting their diploma in a different way. All of these things have made it necessary for us to sort of, again, modify or accommodate expectation. So for our continuous improvement plan, our template has been modified because we have the need for both participation and achievement goals. So this is text heavy, so I'm not gonna read it all to you. But we have goals in our grade bands in which classes are taught, so 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12. We have participation goals in all content areas, and we have achievement goals in those areas. You'll notice that of the kids that do participate, our test scores are pretty good. Here's our literacy, reading and writing. So we also have DIBELS participation goals, which is not a required goal, but makes sense for our program. Again, test scores of those who participate, quite high. Transitioning into Emerson High School, formerly Best High School. Same campus, same principal, different school. We are an alternative high school in the district. We started out a long time ago. A little bit of context about our demographics. We serve students from across the district, but we also have a couple kids from out of district. About half of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, and about a quarter of our students have 504s or IEPs. We are a student choice school. Students apply to come. They are not placed there by their neighborhood schools or by parents or anybody else. Everybody has to apply and chooses to come. We have 9th through 12th grade students, and we're a 9th through 12th grade before the district reconfigured, so we were a little bit ahead of the curve on that. And we have extension opportunities, so for students who have been out of school for a little while, we bring them back and they can, if they need a 5th or 6th year to graduate. We operate under under basic education. We used to operate under the ALE WAC, but because the rules kept changing, it was a much harder fit for a school like Emerson High School, which is primarily a seat time, 5-day-a-week, 6-period-a-day school. Quick facts, we opened in 1968, 25 kids. Our enrollment fluctuates greatly, and we enroll 6 times a year. We can serve about 130 students physically in our building. Our current enrollment's a little bit under 100. The structure is a 6-period day. We also have what's called Learning Center, which is primarily a credit retrieval option that happens either during the school day, 1st or 2nd period, or at night school on Tuesday or Thursday night. And we have 8 sessions or grading periods over the course of a year. Kids earn the same amount of credit as they would at the neighborhood school. It's just broken into smaller chunks. We are a truly standards-based teaching and assessing school. Kids earn credit based on standards-designed summative assessments, based on the Common Core and Power standards. Again, we were using Common Core and identifying our standards long before the district started pushing the professional development that way. Because the school is so small, we found the need, and the teachers picked it up on their own. Our focus is on in-class formative work as opposed to a lot of homework. What is the standard? How do I need to get there? What do I need to do on a daily basis to get it? We also have a lot of interventions and supports for kids. Our class sizes are small. We have core, which is like an advisory model, 4 days a week. We have group counseling, which about 60% of our kids participate in, and we have a really strong partnership with Eastside Services, and we have 2 counselors on site 3 days a week. our work continued. Again, public relations, both within the district and outside the district. What do we do? Who do we serve? What are the expectations? And again, the initiatives and modifications. We also use a cart-based model for SMOS, again, because the focus is on what's happening in classes and not outside of school. Curriculum adoptions, again, BEST was not included in those for a while. And accommodating and modifying as needed, and you'll see that our SIP, when we get to that portion, is reflected there. Our successes, again, stability of consistent leadership, dedicated and collaborative staff. My full-time teachers have between 4 and 5 preps a day. We do not have a PTA, so the snacks that are back there were prepared by our foods class. We have support from central leadership team on staffing and facility issues. We have teeny tiny classrooms, and we need to provide a full spectrum of classes for kids to graduate, and so that sometimes those things are in conflict with district formulas. Access to LDUB initiatives, curriculum adoptions, MOS, et cetera. We have decided to keep parts of the ALE WAC, specifically those monthly learning plan meetings, so although we don't require it based on basic ed, it is something that we found is a really good fit with our model. We have monthly check-ins with each and every one of our kids with their advisors and their parents, if their parents can come. Academic and social growth of students. Our challenges, enrollment fluctuations and instability. Again, that public relations, realistic expectations for what we can provide and what constitutes a good fit. Modifying and accommodating expectations. I talked about SIP and MOS. STEM, for example, we are participating in the STEM program, and we've got Tracy, who's one of our 3 STEM teachers. And instead of doing it as sort of a signature program, which kids can access in 2-period blocks at the neighborhood schools, all of our kids participate in the STEM program during the last quarter of the school year, and it becomes a school-wide project. Our focus for beginning last year and focusing for the next 4 years will be how do we feed ourselves sustainably, ethically, and functionally. What the data says and doesn't say. Again, small sample size, inconsistent cohort data, on-time graduation data, et cetera. So the way that we've modified the SIP has to do with, we also have goals in all content areas, so each of our teachers participate in SMART goal setting. But we've identified the students as being on track, advanced, or extended, as opposed to specific cohort data. So when they arrive with us, where are they credit-wise, and what bucket does that put them in? And we have our SIP goals based on those 3 categories as opposed to cohort data. So here are our math goals. You'll notice that they're both EOC goals in addition to credit earning goals, and you'll notice that as a theme throughout. You'll also notice that the kids that, even kids that come in behind in credit, so those extended kids, 86% of them last year passed the EOCs in algebra and geometry. So they're academically doing fine, or cognitively doing fine academically. Sometimes things are getting in the way. Literacy, specifically in reading. In writing. Science. One of the things we're really proud of in science is we don't have a physical science class, so all of our 9th graders take biology, and for the 3 years that we've done that and had 9th graders, every single one of the 9th graders has passed the biology and, of course, assessment. So for our CTE and social studies, again, the goals are all tied to session credit for those 3 categories: on track, extended, and advanced. And in conclusion, again, 3 very different schools. We do share a common belief in educational choice and a principle. Thank you. You want me to log out?
Thank Thank you, Nell. And if you're a staff member or, did you say parents here too, from Emerson campus, could you stand up? Yeah. So great to hear about all the fabulous work that's happening at Emerson, and thanks for being here tonight. And thank you, Nell, for a great presentation. We're pleased that we have students to recognize this evening. We've got National Merit semifinalists and commended scholars from Eastlake High School and Lake Washington High School here. So I'm going to start by inviting Principal Brad Malloy from Eastlake High School here to get us started with our Eastlake students.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Superintendent Pierce and our Board of Directors for giving us this opportunity to present some of our fabulous students at Eastlake High School. If I could ask my commended scholars to come up front, and we're going to have, don't all jump up at once. Edward, are you commended? Would you like to, do you remember? How about if I run through the list one more time? Oh, awesome. Okay. So we have Parker, Jaden, Lucas, Alexander, William, Colton, Edward, Geneve, Onaf, Emily, Cody, Timothy, Andrew, Eric, and Brian. Great. So what we're going to have this evening is I'm going to ask each of our commended scholars to introduce themselves and then talk a little bit about their educational experiences they've had thus far, what their plans are for the future, and anything else that they would like to add. I know sometimes when we hand a microphone off like this, some kids want to break into dance and song, but maybe we'll try to stay focused on our presentation this evening. Edward, you want to start us off? Okay.
Hi, my name is Edward Kim, and I'm actually committed to go to Harvard University next year. I intend to major in economy and maybe minor in physics. And my best educational experience to date, I think last year we did a colonial experience type thing where we did a first meeting of the president, and it was eerily similar to how this meeting started. It was pretty cool though. We all dressed up as they started back in the 1700s, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Hey everyone, my name is Geneve Lamba. I haven't really worked out a definitive list of where I'm applying yet. I should probably get started on that soon. But I do intend on majoring in computer science and business administration, a joint program. And probably what's remained the most, or probably the highlight of my high school career for that matter, was probably taking AP Calc last year. And so prior to that experience, I'd never really, or I'd always questioned the value behind math and its ultimate purpose. And so that was sort of the focal point of my high school career.
Hello, my name is Brian Yu, and the colleges I want to attend, I'm applying to the University of Washington, and I intend to major in biochemistry, and I'd say my favorite part of the school year so far has been in my physics teacher class, Mr. Stratton. One time he impersonated Galileo and recreated the Leaning Tower of Pisa experiment. It was quite funny.
Hi, I'm Eric Zhu, and just like my peers here, I also intend to go to college. I have a few on my list. I have Washington University at St. Louis, University of Washington, and Johns Hopkins University. And I intend to pursue a degree in pre-medicine or cellular and molecular biology. And To date, I think one of my most valuable educational experiences was APUSH. It both tested me mentally, and it's my strongest subject, but it definitely helped me grow in both my determination and my ability to take in new information.
Hi, my name is Alex Che, and I'm planning on applying to Johns Hopkins and Emory University, and I plan on majoring in physics and chemistry. And what I really liked about school or the best thing about my high school experience was probably chemistry and physics, because both of them showed me how much math applies to real life.
I'm Andrew Weisgarver. I'm planning to apply, or I have applied already, to the U.S. Air Force Academy and the U.S. Naval Academy. I'm planning to major in electrical engineering, and I would say that the most formative educational experience I had was in my biotech class. We actually were able to partner with a mentor. Mine was from the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, and so I was able to go into the lab and actually complete my own research as part of a final project for biotech.
Hi, I'm Emily Rapata, and I hope to go to either Stanford or USC, or like maybe Cornell, and like I don't know, and study architecture. I really like art and math, and one of my favorite experiences, but actually not in high school, but in junior high, I went to a choice school called Renaissance, and it was like an art school, and that kind of showed me how math and art can be integrated and led me to my desire to be an architect. So thank you.
I know that we have some parents here this evening of our commended scholars. If I could ask you to please stand. We know that a lot of their success also comes from the support that you give them at home. So parents, congratulations. Great, thank you guys. And Emily. So if I could ask Eastlake's semifinalists to come on up and join me. Great. So Ryan, I'm going to have you start off.
Hi, my name is Ryan Holmdahl. I'm planning on applying to Stanford University, USC, and UC Berkeley. And I hope to major in either computer science or international relations. And I would say my best educational experience at Eastlake has been Mr. Peterson's World Religions class that I took last year. It gave me a different perspective on history and how different cultures can work together, and it definitely expanded my horizons.
All right. My name is Richard Barron, and I hope to attend MIT, probably going to go to UW to study aerospace engineering and musical composition. My best educational experience is probably in 10th grade. We were reading Macbeth, and I got to dress up as a witch and sing the Cauldron song, so that's pretty cool.
Hi, my name is Nick Randolph, and I'm hoping to attend Stanford University, and I want to major in either engineering or computer science. And my best educational experience was actually probably back in elementary school when I was enrolled in the Quest program, because it was a program that I think really allowed me to succeed and push myself and really become a better student. And from that experience, I've continued pushing myself, and it's allowed me to get to where I am today.
Hi, I'm Nikki Venugopal. I'm also planning on applying to Stanford and also the UW. I'm planning on double majoring in ballet and political science, so I will possibly be the first dancing lawyer. My favorite educational experience so far has probably been my AP US History class last year, which really showed me that I have a really big interest in history, and also I'm really loving AP Government this year.
Hi, my name is James McCutcheon, and I'm currently undecided on where I'm going to go to college, but I plan to major in business analysis. And my favorite educational experience would have to be AP Calc last year. It was probably the hardest math class I've ever taken, and it taught me a lot about perseverance.
Hi, I'm Nikhil Rutger. My top two colleges are MIT and Caltech. I'm also applying to Duke, UC Berkeley, and the UW, of course. I'm interested in majoring in some form of engineering, possibly chemical engineering, or possibly even aeronautical engineering. I'm also interested in computer science. I'd say my most important academic experience was probably AP Chem last year with Mr. Wickrant. It really showed me how applied math is useful with a lot of science topics, and also Mr. Wickrant's really cool. Thanks.
So if I could ask the parents of our semifinalists to please stand and allow us to recognize you as well for your support. Thanks, folks. So Dr. Pierce, again, thank you for letting us present our commended and National Merit semifinalists to the board this evening.
Thanks so much, Brad. It's so exciting to hear about all of the plans that our students have. And in addition to our Eastlake students here tonight, we've got students from Lake Washington High School to recognize. So I'd like to invite Principal Christina Thomas up, and we will recognize our Lake Washington High School students as well.
Thank you for inviting us here as well. I don't know how many of my commended are actually here. I have one student for sure that he had an orchestra presentation that he had to be at because he's playing at Benaroya Hall. I told him it was okay. So commended scholars: Steve Anton, Haeyoung Jun, I'm not doing good, Weston Ellison, Devin Grove, Holt Mackey. Okay, I got one. Okay. You got to carry a big load right now.
Okay.
So talk for a while.
I'll just go on and on. So I'm Weston Ellison. I am planning on attending Brigham Young University, and I would like to major in computer science, and I'm considering getting another degree in business or management in some area. And I've had a lot of great educational experiences. One of the coolest ones I've had was in AP Chemistry last year. We were able to actually learn a lot and apply the things we learned in labs. And one of the coolest labs we did was we took a penny, which is tin with a copper coat on the outside, and we turned it into bronze, which I thought was pretty cool and a great application of chemistry.
Hi, my name is Emily Chang, and I would like to go Notre Dame, but I don't know if I actually would get in. I plan to major in mathematics, and my favorite educational experience has to be like my math classes I had with Ms. Myrie in my junior high school, because that's when I actually learned how to love math instead of being like, oh, it's just another class.
And can I have my parents and my commended scholars please stand? I know there's at least a couple of you here, right? And our semifinalists are Mark Hedring and Hayden Stockwell.
Hey, I'm Hayden. First of all, I'd like to apologize. I would say that I'm sorry my hair is messed up today, but that would imply that there are days when it's not messed up, and I wouldn't want to do that. I go to Lake Washington High School. I am hoping to go to either CMU, which is Carnegie Mellon University, Stanford, which is Stanford, or the UW, which is the University of Washington. I'm hoping to dual major in biotechnology and artificial intelligence, and then, no, I can't tell you what I'm going to do with that knowledge. You're not ready to hear it. And my favorite educational experience, I've had a lot of fun establishing a philosophy club at the school, which now has over 20 members. It's accrued over 3 years, which is great. But there was one incident when I was in middle school, and I'm not going to tell you why.
Artificial intelligence.
It's happening. Why I went to school dressed as a platypus and sang poetry in front of the class, and then received an award in the shape of a very fat cat for my efforts, but I'll tell you that it was awesome.
I am. Yes, good job.
So I'm Mark Adrien. I go to Lake Washington High School. I'd like to go to Mary Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute or MIT, and I'd like to major in mechanical engineering. My best educational experience would be my English class last year with Mr. Marsh, because he really let me out whatever I want. I could write whatever I wanted as long as it somehow fit the prompt. So I really let loose my mind and wrote really bizarre essays, but he was okay with that. And it was really nice because I could just really go free with it.
And if we can have their parents stand up. I'm sorry the rest of our students couldn't be here tonight. They all have great stories, just as those do, but we do appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. It's great to hear all the great plans that our Lake Washington High School students have as well. And if we could just give all of our students one more big round of applause, it would be great. Yes, so we are, our recognition portion of the meeting is complete, so we're going to be moving back to the dais and proceeding on with the meeting. He's on our youth council, youth summit, so he goes to Keys. Can I grab a glass of coffee?
Okay, and it's always nice to have our students come and be able to recognize them for their hard work. Not easy to be a commended or a semifinalist in the National Merit Program. So we thank them for coming. And next piece of business is our public comment time. And I have just one person signed up, but just the guidelines for speaking to the board is that we ask people to come forward, tell us their name and the attendance area that they reside within, and then we have 3 minutes for them to speak. And we do have a stoplight over here, so when the yellow comes up, you have about a minute left and should be winding up your remarks. And so I have Alina,
Yes.
if you would like to come forward.
Yeah, my name
Thank
is
you.
Elena Gavis, and it's my.
Would you just, there you go, so we
Okay.
can hear you.
And this is my second attempt to come here and ask for the help. I still have, as I had, and I still have very negative and discouraging experience with the East Lake High School, with my son attending since January this year. We didn't get support from the beginning, and we discussed this, and I met some of the representative of the district, and I expressed my concern. We've been left by ourselves through the last year, and what's led us to the, since like we didn't get enough support, it's led us to take summer school for the month and a half. That really destroy all our plans. I need to take my unpaid time because I need to take my son for different schools, different credits. What he successfully completed, and with the following exams, he successfully completed too. We came now back to school, to the East Lake, and we started to experience the same issue. I went through the enormous amount of the meetings, emails, conversations, how to arrange the support. Nothing is working. All this arrangement, it's like become a soap opera. I feel myself as a part, like a part of the show, because we agree, we have a lot of effort put for the agreement to do something, they create a working structure, and a lot of proposal, but when it's come to the end, nobody wants to take responsibility, because like anything, as an example, my son got assigned guided teacher. What he attended, I think about 2 or 3 weeks. Nothing was done completely. He was just attending, came into the class. Nobody asked him what should be done, like as we agree. Or sometimes he assigned different extra support from the teacher, and I get an email that assigned 3 teachers in the same day, but then he doesn't get anybody. So in comparisons, when I saw successful people here, I don't think we're fairly treated, because I don't know how much time I can spend. And I understand, like when I talk to the representative of school district, I come on my own time and on my effort. So I understand, like I've been told, like it doesn't matter who will get this goal working. And it's true, if I will succeed or the school will succeed, the only reason I'm just forced to hire the tutor, I spend my time. When the teacher really needs to take responsibility of the result, what they're doing, they need to step and just help me. I cannot just, get promises that never happen. I cannot just, talk about arrangement that never happened. It's nothing is real. It's just anything. When I do put detail how it's work, nobody want to listen to me. I'm just kind of talking to the wall. I continue to talk and I continue to ask for the help. It's discouraging because it's unfair. The only working system is working well. It's disability test. I'm just kind of wondering when they will start to offer disability tests for the parents if they disagree with what they're doing. It's absolutely unfair. I don't know what the goal of the school, but I think it's absolutely different what the school, an entire school system, educational system, what the government's saying, what the president's saying, how much more effort should be put to help students to succeed. This is what I don't see. I think it's unfair. I don't afraid to say it's discriminative. So I'm looking for the help of the board and again for the superintendent when it will be the end, because I'm going through 8 months and they don't take into consideration the child successfully completed summer school. Why didn't work in this East Lake school? I don't understand. Principal is here. After I came here and I complained, our relation completely broke apart. When I come to the school, he even don't look at me, he just do another side. I don't think it's a good example, and I don't know how those people can teach my son to be respectful, to be honest. So I'm looking for the help. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Heather Sinclair. You and Heather and I met. It's been maybe a month or so now, a couple of months at the beginning of school. So I'm going to ask Heather to connect back with you now, and we're going to follow up to get you the assistance.
Yeah, because I'm looking for the, if I don't get this assistance, because I don't know how, I believe we continue this through the end of his 12th grade. I really want to do, or I just need to ask the higher government help, because I can present all information, all my discussions, all my emails, and I can prove every word I said today.
Okay.
Heather, do you want to touch base with her? Okay, thank you. Okay. Consent agenda time. Before I do that, did either of you have anything that you wanted to present to the board since you didn't sign up and you're our only audience that's left besides staff? Okay. That's okay. We love having you here. We love an audience. Consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second. Have a motion, a second. Tracy, will you poll the board, please?
Chris?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes. Okay. Into our non-consent agenda.
Or donations?
Oh, donations, that's right. Oh, there are lots of them.
Yes, there are. So tab 3, we've got donations totaling $219,221 this evening. So we've got a $70,000 donation from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to the Lake Washington School District to support our STEM signature programs. $5,223 donation from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to various schools to provide stipends for Reaching for Success programs at Mann, Rose Hill Elementary, and Kirkland Middle School. $18,125 from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to the Lake Washington School District to support LINKS, which is looking into the needs of kids and students mentoring program. A $1,625 donation from the Juanita Schools Foundation to Juanita Elementary to provide a stipend for outdoor education. A $1,006 donation from the Louisa May Alcott Elementary PTSA to Alcott Elementary to provide a stipend for Operation School Bell. A $1,556 donation from the Girl Scouts of Western Washington to Audubon Elementary to purchase playground recess supplies. $15,963 from Emily Dickinson PTSA to Dickinson Elementary to provide stipends for math club, choir, ASB, and outdoor education. $1,558 from the Robert Frost PTSA to Frost Elementary to support extracurricular activities. A $47,485 donation from the Lakeview Elementary PTSA to Lakeview Elementary to purchase playground equipment, playground recess supplies, a PA system for the gym and cafeteria, art supplies, and to support field trips. An $18,399 donation from Krista McAuliffe's PTSA to McAuliffe Elementary to provide stipends for outdoor ed, ASB, intramural sports field day, and to purchase portable radios and subscriptions for STARS and Accelerated Reader. A $2,497 donation from Mead Elementary PTSA to Mead Elementary to provide reimbursement for office and copy supply usage. A $5,393 donation from the Muir Elementary PTSA to Muir Elementary to purchase a lamination machine and table and to provide curriculum enhancement. $2,000 from the Redmond Elementary PTSA to Redmond Elementary to purchase a subscription for Accelerated Reader. $10,000 from the Rosa Parks PTSA to Rosa Parks Elementary to support field trips. $7,500 from the Rose Hill Elementary PTSA to Rose Hill Elementary to support assemblies and field trips, to provide a stipend for choir, reimburse for office supplies and copy machine, and to purchase emergency preparedness supplies and student folders. $1,050 from Evergreen Middle School PTSA to Evergreen Middle School to purchase cabinets for the science classrooms. $4,300 from Kirkland Middle School PTSA to Kirkland Middle School to provide stipends for homework clubs. And last but not least, $5,535 from the Eastlake High School PTSA to Eastlake High School to provide a stipend for National Honor Society and to support their after-school math lab. All total, $219,221 in donations this evening.
Wow. Quite a busy month from all of our PTAs and our Lake Washington Schools Foundation. So thank you very much for all the generous contributions, and I'm sure the schools totally appreciate them for all the extras that they are providing.
Absolutely.
Having had that conversation about levies, just remember when levies used to be able to provide all those little extras, and now they don't. Non-consent.
Okay, so tab 4 this evening, the item is solicitation of community members for the statement for the February 2014 King County election voters pamphlet. So as part of the process to be included in the voters pamphlet, the board must solicit pro and con committees, a maximum of 3 members each, to prepare arguments advocating voters' approval or rejection of the ballot measure pro and con statements. Members to be appointed from persons known to favor or oppose the measure. If such persons are not immediately known, the district must notify the public that members of the proponent or opponent committees are being sought. Since the district has an established promotional committee, the Lake Washington Citizens Levy Committee, the committee has been asked to provide names of 3 members to write the promotional statement for the measure. Since no formal opposition committee is known to exist, the district must employ some formal means of notifying the public that it is seeking interested community members to participate in writing an opposition statement. The district has received communication from 2 individuals who have expressed interest in writing an opposition statement for one of the proposed measures. The district plans to solicit interest from those who may wish to write opposition statements as part of the voters pamphlet. On November 8th, 2013, a notice will be posted on the district's website seeking interested persons and asking them to notify the district of their interest by November 22nd, 2013. Interested persons should submit their name, address, phone number, and email or fax number. Final action on pro and con committee appointments will be made on December 9th, 2013. After board appointment of the committee members, the district must provide them with the rules, procedures, and deadlines for submitting statements for the local voters pamphlet. So that's the situation. The recommendation is that the board announce its plan and timeline for soliciting nominations for committees to prepare a statement in support, pro, and in opposition, con, of resolution number 2162, replacement of existing educational programs and operations levy, resolution number 2163, replacement of existing capital projects levies, and resolution number 2164, general obligation bonds.
I want to do a clarification before we do a motion. So just how do you want us to do the Citizens Levy Committee? Just send an email rather than do it on the website? How do you want to do that so I can pass that information on to the committee?
Yeah, I think we could have the Lake Washington Citizens Levy Committee send forward
the 3 names.
The 3 names
that they have. Okay. And then the 2 people who have already indicated an interest in the opposition, do we need to get in touch with them to tell them to follow this process?
Yeah, and I think that we can reach out to them individually after tonight to ensure that they know the process and know that they need to provide us with that information.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. Okay.
So I do just, the Kafkaesque aspects of this, where we have to solicit the opponents to our measure, blow my mind. But in reading through this, it sounds like we even get to choose who the committee members are for the con statement? So if more than 3 of them show up, can we take writing samples from each of them and exclude the one who's literate? I'm sorry, this is just absolutely preposterous. Anyway, I'm in favor of anybody who wants to be on the opposition committee is allowed to be part of the opposition committee, and they can organize it themselves.
Well, our problem is, I think, we're limited to 3. That's why we have to make...
They're not limited. They're limited. They have to come up with 3 people. We do not have to choose them. So we'll let them figure out who the 3 are.
If they choose, if 6 or 7 were to apply...
Then it's not our job to pick them.
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
That can't possibly be real.
Unfortunately, it is, isn't it?
But so are we allowed to ask them for a writing sample then?
Janine, did you want to say something?
I mean, seriously, as long as we're going to be ridiculous, we may as well be ridiculous in a clever way.
The information that we have from King County, we need to send formal information on the action of the board to King County, is that we can send them 3 members for each committee. So I think, potentially that could be an issue.
So if more than 3 opponents show up, us, have to pick the 3 that we want to send forward as the opponents?
That's what the city of Kirkland did when they had their last measures.
I mean, this is wrong
We
on so
have
many
not
different
had that
levels that we may as well have
situation
some fun
before
with it.
in the past, so I will just say
We're
we've never
hoping
been
we may
faced
not
with
have
that.
Oh, no, I would love to have 5 or 6 of them and have them have to duke it out. I mean, it's not like they gave us rules for how they can qualify to be the 3.
Actually, I think the last time, I remember with Kirkland, they had a large number that on one side or the other. I think it didn't matter which one, but they had a large number. I think what they did was they chose 3, and then the 3 then communicated with the 9 that stuck their name in to have them read it and make sure everybody was on the same page, because they all had shared an interest, but they could only turn 3 names in to King County.
So is this King County rules, this King County ordinance, King County charter? Where in the world do we find
The
these?
King County Office of Stupid Ideas. I'm sorry,
It's got to be the Department of Elections.
We can send the information this week around the data from King County. I am guessing, Nancy, I can't remember now, and I didn't bring with me. I'm guessing it's broader than just a King County issue. It's probably state elections rules and the Secretary of State. But there is a document that King County has that's a guidance for jurisdictions that are having measures.
The address or the person responsible for this stupid rule, so I can send them some very choice words of my own. I would love it.
We will send you the information we have.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, now that we're done with the Office of Stupid Ideas, do we have to actually vote on that?
We have to vote that we're going to do this process.
Okay. Move that we vote.
There's a whole manual online. Would you like me to send you the link?
From the Office of Stupidity. Okay. No, don't worry about it. I'll follow up later. I'm just having my, I've got the bully pulpit. All of our many viewers are going to write to their legislators saying, this is a stupid idea. Why do you make your school board do it? Thank you, people. All right. I'm done with my rant.
I need a motion. Approval. Okay. And a second?
Seconded.
Any other discussion? Okay, there's the whole thing on the voters pamphlet out here in King County, but there's a whole thing on length and date, and then the biggest thing is the rebuttal statements, because of timeline, are due right between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, and they're required to be half in all caps, right? Without proper punctuation.
Just limited characters, I think.
Okay.
So any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will have this posted, and people can submit their name and address and email or phone on the con side of either of the 3 measures. We already, because of the committee, do not have to solicit additional names for the pro side. So I just want to make that clear to the public. That doesn't need to happen. And they have already...
We're paying for this,
And they have already determined their people on the committee.
Percent of our budget.
Yes, yes. We did, we
we
didn't
have
used to
to
do
pay
a
for it.
voters pamphlet until the last election, and then most school districts didn't, but they now do. Okay, so we'll see how that goes, and then at our December meeting, we'll do that, and then they have to be written and done, I know, right around just before the holiday time, and then there's a short window for rebuttals.
There it is, right there. But
Yeah, but where's the feedback to, who's in charge of the Office of Stupidity?
I don't know. We can't get them to even take dead people.
King.gov/elections, there we go.
We can't
I
get them to
found that
take
in the
dead
past,
people off the
it was
ballots
easier
if people
going
aren't
through
gonna run.
King County council people when I was having my issue last year with writing for the voters pamphlet as a candidate. I went through Kathy Lambert and Jane Hagg and shared my dislike of how the rules were, and they helped negotiate that for me.
It looks like it might be in state law.
Probably. That's what Janine's thinking.
Yeah, we'll follow
Okay.
up and find the source and the contact for you.
No, I agree.
Nobody
Just because it's law
disagrees
does not
with
mean it's
you.
not stupid.
That's that whole PDC thing about we can't promote, so, it's the whole thing. All state law. Okay, now we're on to things that we're really interested in, and that is how our students are doing and performing. What we're all about.
That's right. So Heather is here to present our end result monitoring report for intermediate. So we'll give her just a minute to get her presentation pulled up. Thank you, Heather.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to share with you some of our end results for our current fifth graders and current sixth graders, the class of 2020 and 2021. And just for review, this is part of our governance policy, is to review the ends results over the course of the year. And this is all tied to our mission and vision and our strategic goal of ensuring academic success for every student. The reporting calendar is in front of you. You'll note that intermediate was scheduled for October, but because we had a little schedule change, we are now in November, so we're going to be pushed out about a month. The monitoring data would be disaggregated by groups, include the length of time the measure has been reported, district-wide, built upon actual individual student performance data, and where appropriate, show a progression of class performance over time. We're going to be looking specifically this evening at MSP data, as well as some report card data on interdisciplinary skills. Just to further review, progress data is going to be the first area that we're going to look at, and it is the year-to-year data. It's comparing fourth grade to fourth grade to fourth grade over time. This is where our annual measurable goals are calculated. And we're also going to be looking at growth data this evening, class of data, as I said, the class of 2020 and the class of 2021. Look at some cohort data in math and in reading, and this is also how the state is going to be calculating the student growth percentiles. So our presentation this evening is going to talk about our performance targets. I'm going to do a little data analysis around our strengths and opportunities, and then go through some of the data to show you some of those strengths and some of our opportunities. Our growth data for the current fifth graders is going to be third and fourth grade reading and math MSP, and fourth grade report card data from the end of the year last year. And then the current sixth graders, we're going to add a grade for them, third, fourth, and fifth on reading and math, and then look at fifth grade interdisciplinary skills and conclusions and next steps. So this chart is really taken from our strategic goal our strategic plan, I'm sorry, not goals, our strategic plan. And you'll see in the baseline performance, that was from last year as we started to put these targets together. And then our target performance for 2018 is in the far left-hand column. And the middle captures our performance at the end of the year last year. So the first, it's really looking at our student milestones of 5th grade overall academic readiness for middle school. So our percentage of 5th graders meeting or exceeding state standards in reading, our percent of 5th graders meeting or exceeding state standards in writing when they were in the 4th grade, percent of 5th graders meeting or exceeding state standards in math, and then our percentage of 5th graders meeting or exceeding state standards in science. I think some of the strengths that I'm going to highlight as we go through some of the data charts is one around our progress data. We've had a 10 to 11 percentage point increase in our 4th and 5th grade math MSP data from 09-10 to 2012-13. In addition, and this is very exciting, we've had a 30-point percentage increase in 5th grade science MSP data from 09-10 to 12-13. And our subgroups we continue to see a steady increase in 4th and 5th grade math for all groups. I think there's some opportunities that still exist for us to dig in deeper. We still have an achievement gap. Groups are making progress towards the standard, but the gap still exists. We see subgroup progress data, 4th and 5th grade MSP. Our white students have remained constant in reading over the last 4 years. Students in our special education, English language learners, we have fewer than 50% of our students not proficient in reading and math. And I pulled some other data for us to look at tonight because we know that those children are not always the same who are in special education and English language learners. They test in, they test out. So I did some comparison data for us looking at our neighboring districts where they are with the same subgroups. And that's why I said I think there's an opportunity for us to learn from neighboring district with regards to what they're doing in special education and ELL. So this is just a composite reading, math, and writing. We see our reading and our writing scores are fairly flat, and we do see at the 4th grade level 10 percentage points increase in math. Ethnicity, again, this is for reading. You'll see that our Asian and white students are still outperforming our African American and Hispanic. Our N for our African American students is quite small. And our Hispanic student N has grown, but still relatively small, less than 200. We have seen good growth at in the math area, a steady increase, 20 percentage points for Hispanic students. I'm sorry? Oh. Writing percentage standard, again, we see a fairly flat growth there, but again, you know, we're encouraged by the work that we're going to be doing with our new literacy adoption and the staff development that's going to be occurring in reading and writing as well as listening. So decided to pull out, instead of just looking at special ed by itself, wanting to look at our students who were not in special ed compared to our students in special ed. And this is at reading, in reading. Now, What we don't know here, if these special ed students qualified in reading or what their qualifying area is. So it could be that they qualified in math, but if they have an IEP, they're considered special ed students. So I think that's something we need to dig into some more. Math, we see a big gap between our non-special ed students and our special ed students. Our low-income and non-low-income students, fourth grade reading percentage standard, we don't see the large gap as we did in special ed, but again, there's a gap, and poverty certainly plays a huge factor.
Do we know any about ELL with this group? Are these all non in that low income? Are they all non-ELL students, or is it a mixture?
It's a mixture.
Okay,
and
so that
later on, when we're talking about cohort data, I have some data for you about Hispanic students who are low income and non-low income.
Okay. It's just sometimes these are apples and kumquats, that we're comparing.
Heather, when you said we've got Hispanic students, low income, non-low income, what about an ELL too?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, I did not do ELL. I did Hispanic and African American, and not ELL low income.
Okay, thank you.
Now moving to fifth grade. This is a composite for reading, math, and science. Again, you'll see the wonderful growth in science, and that our reading has stayed fairly flat, and we have seen some gains in math. Ethnicity at the fifth grade level over time, we see the same results as we did with fourth grade. And we see growth in math. This is our growth in science by ethnicity, which is heartening, because I think we have seen growth with our subgroups here.
It's really impressive in places. I'm just kind of curious, was there a big curriculum change between 10 and 11 or so?
The last time we did elementary science adoption, I think I led it, and so that's close to 8 years ago for science, elementary science, when we went from kind of a book model to the kit model.
The other thing potentially at play here, and I will need some help in remembering this, but there was some work done at the state level, I think, in 10, 11, around standards alignment, because the science MSP 1 year wasn't really aligned well with the standards that were being taught. There was something that was done at the state level, and I'd need to go back and figure out what that was, but that could account for some of it. It was a better, changes made to standards to better align what was being assessed and what was being taught.
I mean, there's about a 20% growth in the state science scores too, between 2009 and 2010.
And I think part of that is the result of...
it's a state-driven, test-driven.
I couldn't hear you.
If you look at the state scores from 2009 and 2010, the differences, it's about a 20% change in those as well, which implies it might be a test artifact.
Well,
Yeah,
that
a better
raises a good
alignment
point, because when you look at something like this chart, I mean, this is impressive, and one of the things we want to know is, what have we done that's right? But if it's just an anomaly of the test, then that's a different factor.
And I think it's more than just the test instrument. It was a misalignment, if I'm remembering correctly, of what standards were supposed to be taught in that grade level and then what was ultimately being assessed on the MSP. And there was some realignment work done at the state level. Again, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, so I could be wrong, but that's what I recall. And because of the alignment, that there was improvement shown at the state and at the district level.
So I guess
I can look that up, but
that would be interesting to know when we're looking at this, because one of the reasons we're doing this is to pinpoint where we are making improvements and making a difference.
Right.
Staff development, is it curriculum?
Right. With your permission, we'll dig in a bit into this and do a follow-up on the science piece.
Yeah,
we had talked about
I just
this.
wanted to reiterate the concern that was raised around, there's a 32-point jump in fifth grade science between 2009-10 and 12-13 statewide. We went up by 30 points. The fact that we started 24 points of everybody else is not a bad thing. We've managed to maintain the gap, but it doesn't look to me like there's dramatic evidence that we've found some magic bullet. Everybody else is coming up. The baseline has changed on us.
There was one time I remember that we had talked about looking at the difference, and are we increasing that difference between the state and us, or is that decreasing? And the idea being that the test itself will have a variation from year, and you can just, typically if you graph the state against any of the school, you'll see that same similar curve.
Yeah, the only problem is you have this ceiling effect. I mean, we started at 57. We've only got 43 points to go.
Right.
So if the state goes up by more than 43, all of a sudden we're on a ceiling. But it is something that concerns me that, they've tried to give us something to hang our hat on in terms of standards and consistency, but it really is hard to interpret these data.
But this is also a piece of, I think, if we set, as our targets are that we have, and we have our goals of what we're saying, 90%, 95%, we can measure off of that as well. That gives us an idea.
Yeah.
Well, the other reason I think it's important is to, we're looking at achievement gaps here. We don't have much of achievement gap left in some areas, and in the Hispanic community we still do. So the question is, what else do we need to be doing with some of our kids?
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the questions that, this is where I would actually bring stats to bear on the problem, is the achievement gap that remains a significant gap between groups? The 70 to 90 probably is.
That is.
But in some cases, for example, our black numbers don't seem to be stable. That's probably a sample size. It's a small group, therefore it just fluctuates more. And therefore, even 74 might not be different from 90 statistically. It's just 12 kids or something. So, and I know it's more than 12, but sample size does matter. Yeah.
We used to get that on some of these
anyway,
charts.
I'll work with you on
When we get to the class of 2021,
Yeah.
for example, the African American N size is 31.
Yes, and in 31 kids,
You're going to have more
it
fluctuation.
matters what your last name is. I mean, it's random. So anyway, but I've got a lot of thoughts on how to present this, and I'll be working on them as you go.
And I just think that with the Hispanic group, especially since many of them may be ELL.
Yes.
And with low income, there's lots of other
lots of
factors
confounding
in that
factors, right.
whole group
Absolutely.
that I think we
So
have
when you're
to
working on how you're going to start dealing with
impact
this
is.
data,
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the questions, because just looking at this chart only gives us a very narrow piece of information.
It's one slice in one dimension.
And there's the gap in comparing to others, but still at the same time you say only 70%, we're still missing that third up above. And those are the pieces that, even if we're at 80%, it's still 1 in 5.
Well, and how it's
that we haven't
impacting,
succeeded.
staff development and curriculum and intervention.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. You two can have a lot of fun.
We will.
In the weeds.
Just real quick, I was able to find real quick that they did, OSPI did revise the science standards in June 2011. So there's a document, or excuse me, June 2010. So that fits in line, and they did a whole alignment piece and focused on fewer topics, greater depth, and then made the alignment between the standards that are supposed to be taught and the assessments. So just wanting to close that loop.
Thank you, Tracy.
So they fixed the test.
Okay, so again, our SPED and non-SPED students, huge gap.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
That does not include 504, correct?
It
That
does
is
not.
only if you have an IEP.
Correct.
Okay, so we aren't looking at 504.
Not in this
ever.
data.
Okay.
And so again, my question would be, you know, can we increase the achievement of the SPED? I mean, to me, SPED is such a huge term that it covers a wide range of abilities. So it gets a little frustrating to see everybody lumped together when our goal is, you know, targeted individual education. Yeah, she's really into kumquats tonight, but she's right. We're not.
Yeah, what we can't tell from here is what are the qualifying areas, what's the disability, what's the severity of the disability, all those kind of things. Although later on, in some of the comparable data, Heather was able to look at how do our special ed students compared with special ed students in some neighboring districts, which gives us, again, more questions than answers, but that's what data does. It helps us to formulate questions that then need further investigation.
When you're looking at the district level at this data, do you have access to more specifics so that you can disaggregate the types of disabilities so you have a better idea on how well schools are doing to meet needs?
With the data dashboard, we can drill down into the, you know, which students are we talking about at which schools, and then through IEP Online, you know, what are their qualifying factors, and all that real level of work is done as part of the continuous improvement process plan. So we are looking at the big district picture, but then we also have processes for drilling down to the student, specific student level, and then really the student's IEP for special ed students is specifying what the goals and objectives are for that student based on their current level of performance and goal performance. And that's what an IEP does.
So remind me, so I don't have, I've got too many screens going here. This is the data you're presenting, Heather, is last year's data?
This is data over the last 4 years, with the most recent being last spring, 12-13.
So the most current data dashboard we have available is last year's data?
It's, if you go on and you look at this year's current data dashboard, the business rule is the most current performance of the MSP, which would have been last spring.
If you were looking at remembering the data dashboards organized by class of, so if you wanted to look at 2012-13 fifth graders, that's the class of 2021, is that correct, Heather?
Yeah, current fifth graders are the class of 2021.
Okay, so that's actually the class of 2020 then, because you were a fifth grader last year.
Yeah, we're looking at last year's fifth graders.
Well, we're looking at progress there, so we're looking at fifth graders over time. Fifth graders,
Right.
Can you go back for a
But
second?
the latest we have is last year,
Right.
2013.
That's
12,
correct.
13.
So now we'd be looking at, well, this is fifth grade math, so we're looking at fifth grade math from 09, 10 to 12, 13. Fifth graders in 12, 13
are now
sixth graders. And that's the class of 2020.
2014?
2020.
2020.
So we'll get into some specific class of data now, and we're going to start with our current current fifth graders, of what they did as, this is their data as of last spring, and this is a district comparison in reading, math, and writing, also against the state. So looking at Lake Washington in the blue, Bellevue in the gray, Issaquah in the khaki, and North Shore in red, and the state is in green. I think, overall, we outperform the state and are comparable to our neighbors. But wait, there's more. Again, this is current fifth graders, their reading results at the end of third grade on MSP and end of fourth grade, and math end of third grade, end of fourth grade. No real growth to speak of.
And we see that consistently. I mean, math was probably the only place that you've seen that be a little bit different.
And science.
Well, science, I still think it's the test more than it's necessarily something specific. Why is that?
If we go back and we pull the WASL data, we have from the beginning of WASL, we do see growth, but we have seen a flatter line since we started with the MSP.
And that's pretty common. I mean, with tests as they come in, it usually takes about 3 years to hit what your status was going to be for. So, I mean, that's the piece, and that's going to be the question is, well, how do we move that line? How do we shift that? I mean, I think the kindergarten intensive safety net, then KISN is that idea. And the question is, how do we do that in the older grades? How do we address that? So,
Claire, can you go back one? So I think, for example, when we look at this, what this tells us is that 82% of the students, when we look at just math, it looks like, okay, so there's no growth. But what we don't know is that the 82% in third grade, the same 82% as in fourth grade, and what's the breakdown between meeting and exceeding standards. So I'm just pointing out that there's things that this doesn't show. Then what we don't know is the 18% that weren't at standard. Is there, were some of them at standard in third grade, and what's the movement of the students there? That's what we do and can dig into in the data dashboard, and then to see of the 18% that, who were those students, and is there something about them that is in common, and how do we intervene for those students as a group and for them individually?
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, as I've seen this from year to year to year, it's a flat line.
Right.
I mean, that's,
and I'm just pointing out, but I think
as that data gets used, that's what my question is. How will this feed into what specific interventions or activities that we take, not necessarily at the individual level, because you're doing that all the time. I mean, that's what teachers do every day in their classroom. But what do we at this level work at trying to make sure those interventions or get that support or whichever pieces to help drive that change and then look for that change in that process.
So that's two things, why we look at the progress and the growth. So the progress helps us to look at fifth grade over time. Is there something about fifth grade curriculum, what happens at the fifth grade that is either contributing to progress or not?
Right.
And, what can we look at in curriculum and all those kind of things. Then the growth data helps us look at this particular group of students and as they're progressing through the system. And that's one of the reasons we're doing student growth goals. That's part of professional growth and evaluation. I think one thing we could think about is how do we talk about, so what do we do with this? Because there's lots and lots of things we do. And with the intervention program work, and but it's not all apparent, or maybe there's a way we could better highlight that or something as we're going through the end result?
Well, the one thing, I mean,
reports?
part of, at least from my experience, is when you're looking and you make changes and you think you kind of want to make projections and predictions of where you think you will go because of this. So by implementing the kindergarten intensive safety net, our goal is that we would see better scores at the end of the year in those schools where we did that in comparison to the schools where we didn't do that.
Right.
So that's my question as to, are we getting to that, at least in our intermediate levels, where we see this, you know, we do see this trend line where we have about 1 in 5 who don't get to standard. Yes, and you have the kids who move up and down all around it all the time, but how are we systematically addressing it? And is there anything we can do that way?
I think, you know, Tracy's right. A lot of the work at the individual student level is being done at the building, schoolhouse, classroom, teacher to teacher. I think there's things that we can do in terms of sharing this data out with program directors here at our level, you know, ensuring that our special ed department sees this and can break it down by their learning communities, that our intervention specialists, you know, can see this and has access to it as well. You know, we have our academic core team that is made up of teaching and learning, the professional learning, student learning side, as well as school support. We meet once a week, and we are delving into this data, as well as, AMOs, as well as student growth percentiles, and how does that impact the SIP, and what can we do to better support at the school level?
Well, you know, and I think part of it is for some of these groups and categories, it's easy for us to see improvement or sustainability. For other groups, because of small in size, because something like SPED is like a huge category, or some of the other smaller groups, it's really difficult for us to see whether we're making progress in those areas. It's hard to get our head around it, except for Chris, maybe he finds way to dig into your data that the rest of us would never figure out.
It's all about your reference. And I gotta tell you, I just found something that actually convinces me, not that the numbers we're looking at are numbers where they could be telling one of many stories. But if you take our performance at 4th grade in math, just taking 4th grade math MSP over the last 4 years, we have parallel tracked against the state. That is, we've gone up by 10 points and the state's gone up by 10 points. That by itself doesn't necessarily mean a whole heck of a lot, because sometimes it's harder to go from 70 to 80 than it was to go from 50 to 60. What does make a difference, 10 points overall. We've gone from 72.4 to 81.5. Okay, 9 points.
That's 72 to the
It's the math. It's the red one, so it's not that visible there, but it's there. 72 to 82.
Oh, I
Okay.
enjoyed your phone.
Yeah. Anyway, but the question is this good enough? Is this just because that's what's happening to everybody? Now comes the really fun part. You layer Issaquah and Bellevue on top of it. Bellevue has pretty much treaded water. Issaquah has started from higher point and come down. We have improved relative to meaningful comparators. But in their absolute numbers, it could mean anything. We don't know what the meaningful comparator is. But we just kicked Issaquah's butt in 4th grade math over the last 4 years, and I am very happy with that. Sorry, I probably didn't say that politically.
And then what we need to try to do, so what have we done over the past 4 years that could potentially contribute there? We have a new math curriculum at the elementary level. That's probably a contributing factor. You know, I mean, so it's looking at what is it that we're, yeah.
But, and it certainly has been an emphasis of our PD, and, you know, we know elementary teachers, this is a gross overstatement, but many of them love to teach literacy. They love to teach reading and writing and math. If they were a math person, they may be at the secondary level teaching math. I think now we're seeing our elementary teachers teaching
The professional development matters.
Yeah, I think the PD piece is kicked in.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
But that's the piece that's useful. If there's a change or there's not a change or there's a decrease as to what's the context in which that's in, that you can provide the explanation or at least to dive deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
Building the skills and confidence of the learner and the teacher.
So you two will take that into the weeds with you for future reports.
Can I just say, just globally, and I think this is really good work, that I caution us against creating our own local No Child Left Behind. In other words, the numbers are important, but it's still, getting people to standard rather than, getting into the comparative thing. I think it's important that we continue to focus on getting as many of our kids to standard as
And
we can.
beyond. And beyond.
That's right.
And beyond, I agree with
And
that.
beyond.
I agree with that.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's why this gets, it's an exercise for Heather to try and explain it, and it's frustrating for us because it's that individual achievement and also the whole staff development and support structures that are in place to help the teachers, help the students. The numbers don't always tell in these large aggregates.
Now I'm going to let Heather continue with her report.
Okay, Heather, we're fascinated.
I'm glad. This is our current fifth graders, our ethnicity, and I do have some data here to share. Wanted to dig in a little more to our Hispanic and African American students to see kind of where poverty played a role. And for this particular class, we have 191 in the end for Hispanic. And 115 of that 191 are low-income students. 77 are non-low income. So if you compare that, we had 59% of our low-income Hispanic kids get to standard, 59% in reading, and 82% of our non-low income. And I did not lay ELL in this.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, the last group, the non-low income, was what the percent?
82%.
80%. So again, you pull out the poverty piece.
And in math, it's 53 and 70 difference. Our low-income Hispanic kids, 53%.
So really, across the board, low socioeconomic is the big factor that is there, for which we need the tools.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also, I think you still need to throw in the ELL,
And ELL, probably. Yeah. Will you be able to overlay ELL with what you just did?
I'm sorry, say again?
Okay, with what you just did, will you be able to also add in ELL?
I can.
You know, it's interesting.
One of the issues with ELL is
They're coming and going.
They're coming and going.
Yeah.
And once ELL, the intervention you're getting is for language acquisition.
Right.
So you're in a program to get intervention for language acquisition, and once you've met the standard in terms of English acquisition, you're exited out of program. And so you're no longer getting the intervention, you're not in ELL, but now with some of the change in legislation this last year, we're getting funding to serve students once they've exited ELL if they're still, or if they're below standard. So now we had done an update on that and with the numbers and charts of how many students we're serving and how we're doing that. So one of the discussions that's been in the whole AMO discussion with the state board and the state is that ELL is a little problematic in terms of.
It shouldn't be included as a subgroup. It should be as recently out of the ELL program. Mm-hmm. So within a year, how are they doing once they've graduated the language acquisition component?
Mm-hmm. Like exited ELL.
But
exactly.
you know, it's that whole thing about language too, though. They could speak the language well, but understanding it and getting all the nuances of language in the U.S. is not easy. So just because they've exited out of the program doesn't mean that they're automatically got it to do all the pieces that they need to do for the things that they're learning in other subject areas. So it's a tough
But you're
piece.
at least able to follow, I mean, the ELL in fourth grade, I mean, it's just a very different group all the time.
Yeah, there's a
It's
lot
all
of
different
diversity
kids.
within the ELL
Right.
group as well.
Yeah.
So we just have to think about how to display that data, I think.
Yeah, exited students from ELO.
Yeah. But, you know, but
Well,
the poverty issue is a huge one, and it's one that we've known about and see, and I think that's very telling when you say the or in the 80s, and the other is 59%.
59.
Well, the ELL discussion has been part of our problem with the AYP reporting for the feds, because the kids are always moving. So you're never going to achieve that 100% when it's constantly moving out the kids who do achieve. So, you know, that was just a small bit of where we're trying to actually get around data. Are we still doing AYP reporting?
AYP, remember, is now changed with the state waiver.
Yeah.
As part of the ESEA waiver. So that's where the annual measurable objectives came into play.
But are we still reporting to the feds?
Not AYP, so that was kind of under the old system, but now it's AMO, and we've got categorize, you know, they categorize schools into emerging and that whole thing,
I remember that. Have we
and
done a report yet? I mean, we haven't seen anything for our district on that yet, have we? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. We can,
I can't remember the moment.
So this is some program and free and reduced lunch data. But I was curious, you know, because these kiddos do change in and out of special ed and ELL, so I went in and looked at last spring, and this is for special education, and what our neighboring districts and the state were doing in relationship to the same subgroup. And so I wonder what Bellevue and North Shore are doing in reading and writing. And I think it's an opportunity for us, you know, to make some connections and have some conversations.
And this is special ed, right?
This is special ed.
it'd also be interesting to look at not just the fourth grade, but other grades, because it's possible, I mean, who's in this particular group of students? And what's the range of, I mean, it just might play into it. But I mean, I think it's good data for us to ask those questions.
But at least now you're comparing similar students.
Programs, yes.
And programs, rather than comparing one program against something that's totally different from it.
Right. So this is special education. Next is our English language learners. Comparing reading, math, and writing. And again, it would just be an interesting conversation to have around, you know, what is Bellevue doing, for example, with their ELL learners in writing. Different kids, you know that, but yeah.
Same program.
Our low income.
And number-wise, we compare more with Bellevue as far as percent of kids that are free and reduced, I think, overall. Just kind of looking at our numbers for OSB. We don't do anything with this class, I don't have those, but North Shores are much smaller than ours overall as a district. Their low-income numbers are smaller by a bunch. But Bellevue has some really big pockets of schools that have high much higher than we do in any one school. All those schools that are around Sherwood Forest and Phelan Lake and those.
Looking, are you going, okay, go ahead.
No,
No,
go
you're
ahead.
first.
No, you.
As looking at the low-income one, the question, we know this, the gap is there, it's very well researched, it exists. So what can we do? What are we doing? I know at the, as I said, at the kindergarten level we've talked, but what are we doing at our intermediate grades?
As a district, we have focused our title resources at the elementary level. And so the kindergarten intervention program is a recent, addition to what we're doing. At the middle level, we don't have, and at the high school level, we don't have the same kind of title funding and kind of interventions that we have going on at the elementary title schools. That's not to say we aren't intervening with the
Right.
students who aren't meeting
Absolutely.
standard, because we're absolutely doing that. But
my question is this, these were even your fifth graders. So that's like, so do we do anything in third and fifth specific in our,
we can do.
or not yet, or is that on the books to be looked at and researched? Is that?
Yeah, there's, so we've got school-wide title, and one of the things that you can do if you approach title as a school-wide school, you can use those Title I funds for professional development, for materials, for things that are for the entire school. And we don't have the same kind of like intervention, kindergarten intervention safety net that we do, but all of they've done, for example, at Einstein, a whole professional development series with the Center for Educational Leadership around writing. And there's specific, you asked about the kind of school updates. We've got both Muir and Einstein and I won't remember which, if it's emerging or focus and who's what, but we can get an update on that. And they have pretty extensive plans that have to be completed around what are they doing in that school for students. So we can do an update, and I think it'll be included as part of the program review for Safety Net, but we can do an update on that specifically as well. I don't know that they've approached it like, we've got this kind of kindergarten-specific program, and then there's Safety Net, and how we're doing that, and sort of beyond Safety Net or even more at the title schools that have the additional funding. But I don't know if they have a grade level specific kind of program like they have in kindergarten.
During the school
could
year,
be safety net is what.
right, during the school year, that's correct, but they do have summer school
program
that identifies students who are not, reading, writing.
But that's for all grade levels, is what I was sort of saying. We do this kind of special thing for kindergarten, and then like intervention for every other grade level.
Is there a way to look at some of these kids? I'm curious if those who had preschool programs, if they have performed better as they've gone through the system, because everything you read about and strong, and I'm a strong proponent that I think, if I had my way, our title schools would all have preschool available for every student that's there, because I think that would make a huge difference for preparation for kindergarten. I mean, everything you read says that, but I'd be curious to know if we could find that out. Does that make a difference? I think that the state is always looking at, and then, certainly Seattle's doing a big thing right now, trying to do preschool for everybody, but it'd be interesting to see if those kids truly are performing better that have been through preschool of some kind. If we can find that data, I'm not sure we can.
There's
We
research
should at
on
least
Head
know
Start.
about ECAP and Head Start.
We should, at least the ones that we have at our own, yeah.
No, but there was a study, a research project on Head Start that looked at long-term.
There's been lots
I
of
don't
them,
know,
but.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think there's already a lot out there
Yeah.
that we could access to answer that question. question.
But
I think
Jackie-
it has been
But I'm
used.
curious of our own students. Do we have
Yeah.
students, do they truly?
What can we say about our own
And if
kids?
that's true, that's an argument for how do we provide
Mm-hmm.
for those kids. I mean, if you can give them a leg up that end, certainly helps as time goes on to move them further along. But yeah, there's all kinds of studies that say that it's the way to go.
The studies that are out there are fine studies, but it's always more compelling to be able to say, in our kids, we can prove that this effect is there.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, when it comes to preschool and some of these other issues, I think it's a big deal about selling it to the community. This is something where you can get donations, significant donations from corporations, if you can prove that what you're doing works.
Yep.
And being able to prove it in the instance of today, as opposed to in the theory, is really nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to capture how our current fifth graders are doing in their interdisciplinary skills. They're doing very well. They're thinking, they're collaborating, citizenship, personal attributes.
Good.
So moving to this year's current sixth graders who are now in middle school and how they're doing against sixth graders at the State and Bellevue and Issaquah and North Shore. Again, I think overall we're doing well. This is for all students in the current sixth grade. So what do they do in third, fourth, and fifth grade reading and math? And again, I want to reiterate what Tracy said, is that 88 to 89 in reading may not seem like a big jump, but what we're not seeing here are those cuspy kids who moved from a low 2 into a 3, or maybe the 3s that moved into 4s. So we're not seeing the growth within those bands. The data around this group, we did dig in, and again, for our Hispanic students, it was a total of 174. And 108 of those 174 were low-income students, and 66 were non-low-income students. And the comparison there is 58% of those low-income students got to proficiency in reading, while 90% of our non-low-income.
Yeah.
And on the math side, it was 42% versus 83%. The end size for our African American students is 27, and again, we didn't see a trend there aligning to poverty, but the end size is so small. This is program and free and reduced lunch data. But again, I thought it would be interesting to see how this particular class, current sixth graders, are doing in special education compared to our neighboring districts. And again, Bellevue, North Shore, just based on this, are doing something in reading. And North Shore is doing something in math, but our science scores are a little higher. This is our ELL. And low income. So, Siri, you've asked, and I think all of you have asked, what are we doing? We are continuing with the grade level refinement committees, and that's just, again, ensuring that what we're teaching is aligned to our Common Core state standards. These committees are made up of teachers. Do we have principals on them, but teachers who are practicing at that grade level, ensuring clarity for standards taught and assessed, and then just making sure we have consistency for minutes of instructional time. I know that when I first came into the role of a DSS, and looking at one school that was teaching a 60-minute block of literacy versus another school that was teaching 120. So we wanted to make sure that there is a consistency for minutes of instructional time. You know, it's our first year of our K-5 literacy adoption, but our special education and English language learners have also had a new curriculum, and the people who are responsible for delivering that are very excited. We've spent leap time in PD working with the teachers in those areas. Common Core state standards, of course, and then we have had some work this year on our Envision math curriculum, aligning to the Common Core. But also what opportunities we have. I think we continue to update curriculum and assessment guides to align with standards. Ensure grade level and teacher-developed assessments are aligned to standards. Want to make sure that teachers are using formative assessments to determine whether instructional adjustments are necessary, and that all is connected to Common Core. And then special education intervention departments continue to emphasize standards, assessment, and instruction during trainings. And just to reiterate, these are our high impact areas for our elementary staff this year. They are working on Common Core state standards, our new literacy adoption, continued work around PLCs and RTI, and then our new principal and teacher professional growth evaluation systems.
And so with these being the high impact areas, in 2 years, what would I expect to see as possible changes in some of the results presented tonight?
In 2 years, what would you expect to see in time? Well, I think you're going to be seeing much more commonality around how teachers are working together, their collaboration. They're going to be looking at data very intentionally and looking, I mean, it gets to a point where they have so much data in front of them, it gets to be a so what question. Mm-hmm. So what do they do with all that data? And so that they're really using data to inform their instruction, and so that they're being able to maybe regroup students a little differently. They're able to, now we're going to be able to see with the student growth goals in the professional growth evaluation system that are going to be tied to students specifically. So teachers are now going to be evaluated on the growth that their students are making in their class. I think that's something that we'll see, you know, grow and
would I expect to see
better.
Changes in the percentage hitting of our
I'm
students?
Take a stab at that, because since we have new Common Core state standards that are more rigorous than our current standards, we're implementing instruction aligned to those standards, and next year the state assessment will be aligned to those more rigorous Common Core state standards, and I anticipate seeing a decline in our data, even though we've implemented a new literacy adoption aligned to Common Core. We're going to have a new instrument that always, as we see, there's blips in the data as we adjust, for example, from WASL to MSP, and now we're going to be going from MSP to SBAC, and not just the instrument changing, but the test itself is more rigorous, and we've got a work session coming up on assessment strategy, and we'll be able to even show you some of those items and how students are being asked to do very complex tasks, which is great, but I anticipate that we're going to see a dip in our data, and there'll be a dip at the state level, and it's going to take us some time to grow from that dip, but I expect a dip.
That is good, thank you.
Anything else for?
So that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
I think we bombarded you enough throughout. We didn't save for the end. Thank you, Heather, again.
welcome.
Great job. I know we always come up with more whatevers, and so, wonderful.
I think the discussion is more valuable when it's happening while the slides are in front of us than to wait till the end and have it.
Understood. Understood. Great.
Esoteric
Wasn't
discussion.
making that as a criticism, just a comment. Okay. Sorry. All right. Soups report?
Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about community engagement this evening. This fall, we're launching our 5-year strategic plan. That's been shared with the district PTSA. It's been shared with the Foundation Advisory Council, and we're about ready to sort of launch that out to our larger public. The strategic plan includes our vision, mission, our values, and our strategy in terms of the goals that we're focused on to help achieve our mission and vision, as well as our key indicators of success, including those performance targets that we have for our students. Part of the launch is going to involve a new section on our website, a web page called Your Voice. And this page will be on the website in a place where we will be regularly seeking feedback from our parents and community. We plan to debut this page in early November, so we're just making final work on it now. And so look for an announcement on the district website probably in the next week or two under the What's New on this site. The Your Voice page, it'll have a little video, about a 1-minute video about our strategic plan. It will have our strategic plan there, and we'll be seeking some initial feedback through a very short survey about the strategic plan. More than that, though, it will be the place where when we are doing surveys around a particular initiative on the strategic plan, where that survey will either be posted or it'll also be sent out in other ways. And the results, in terms of the feedback that we got back around, you know, what did our parents tell us about this question or these series of questions that we asked, it will be posted on the Your Voice page as well. So we're attempting to be more, you know, as transparent as possible about not only the feedback that we're getting, but not only about getting feedback, but about sharing the data back with people. The Your Voice page isn't the only way, though, that we engage our communities, and we've used surveys for a number of things in the past, but we also have and will continue to have other strategies for engaging the community in terms of in-person meetings and processes, and especially when there's complex information or background that people need before they can really give us advice on an issue. So we've had some longstanding committees in place that you're all aware of, like the Instructional Materials Committee, that includes students and staff members and community members. Also, our Community Tech Advisory is something that we've kind of had it and it's gone away and it's coming back, but it is an advisory group that involves community members and staff. New this year, I just wanted to highlight a couple other committees that we have going. We've got a High School and Beyond Plan and Culminating Project Committee that includes, you heard a little bit about that earlier, it includes students, staff, parents, and community members. And the task of that committee is to make some refinements and recommendations about how we can improve our High School and Beyond Plan and Culminating Project across the district. We also have an Anti-Bullying Advisory Committee, ABAC for short, that Ken Lyon, who's one of our directors of school support, and he's our harassment, intimidation, bullying compliance officer, he's formed this committee, and that committee's mission is to create a community where all members feel safe, accepted, and valued. All members, not of the committee obviously, but of the larger school community. And they're seeking to educate community members about the impact of words and actions, empowering one another to stop bullying behavior when we see it, and encouraging all of us to see the value in ourselves and those around. So they're really digging into how can we raise awareness about bullying, how can we make sure that bullying is being identified and reported, how can we prevent it, and this committee has had huge interest in terms of when Ken was seeking members for the committee. I think they're up to over 40 members at this point, maybe more. And it's community members, parents, staff, and students serving on this committee. We've also have committees that have a specific task, so it's more of a finite start and end time. For example, our Bond and Levy Advisory Committee was inclusive of staff and community members, and they were charged with making the recommendation to the board in terms of the measures that are going before the voters in February of 2014. And that's kind of a nice example because it involved, if you remember that whole process, a community poll, a parent survey, and then that data was really looked at by the advisory committee to help form their recommendation. So again, what I really wanted to highlight was the Your Voice web page that's coming, and I want to, we're going to make sure that the word gets out about that, and I wanted just to take the opportunity to highlight that a bit tonight, but also highlight the fact that surveys are usually one part of a method for seeking community feedback and engaging community, but we also have multiple methods, including in-person methods, and we're trying to look at how can we expand those, and a couple of good examples are the High School and Beyond and Culminating Project Committee, as well as the ABAC Committee, just that are new committees this year that are inclusive of students and community members.
Great, thank you. Doug, legislative, anything for us other than election day?
Well, yeah, obviously,
Tomorrow.
if you haven't voted yet, get that ballot in the mail tomorrow. We do have a couple of seats in our board riding on that, and so we're eagerly anticipating the results. A couple of things. I appreciate the energy and passion that my colleague Siri brings to the whole issue of legislation. And in a work session prior to this meeting, we actually hashed out the bones anyway and the framework for a board legislative, and actually it would be a school district legislative set of priorities for the next session. So you'll be seeing that roll out before the next session.
2 sets of applauses for tonight.
And the other thing is that our state association established its priorities at the recent legislative assembly, and they just recently announced those. And basically the top 3 are, no big surprise, education funding, addressing education funding and the inadequacy as focused upon by the McCleary decision. And then 2, putting more emphasis on professional development, adequately funding it, and also allowing districts to schedule that as it works out for them, and maintaining, local control over that. And then 3, establishing a sustainable method for funding. So one of them really focuses on a specific area that's addressed in the Supreme Court decision. So that's it in a nutshell.
All righty. Any board follow-up items? Future agenda items, debrief? Any comments? I just want to, Siri and I attended a meeting with Tracy and Janine with the city manager of Kirkland and 2 of their council members, in which we do a couple times a year, and just talking about issues that are common to both of us and things that are going on that impact one or the other. And I just wanted to make a couple of brief comment on the fact that one of the areas that they are looking at very seriously is the issue of the pool in the Juanita area and in the Kirkland area. And they have a couple of upcoming dates that if people should pay attention to that have some interest in pools, and having one in the community. On November 6th, they will be having one that's around some budget items that they are going to do some proposing, because that's a budget, mid-year budget hearing time for the city. So there's some recommendations coming in from Parks to help with this pool idea. And then in December 10th, they'll be coming back, the Parks Department will be coming back to do a report to council about what they've found and things that they're looking at. But they're certainly doing lots of things. They're working with community, they're working with WAVE, they're working with us. They've sent some people to look at a conference in California that are different kinds of pools that are available nowadays other than the kind that you dig in the ground and put cement. And I mean, I didn't know you could just kind of have a stainless steel tub and above ground, and you could build things over them and all this other stuff. So there's lots of things and lots of energy actually in the city.
Not like that ad where the guy says, what are these nuts and the whole thing.
Oh, no, I hope not. I hope not. So their Parks Department and their City Council certainly has taken this issue very seriously and are really moving forward and working with community. And so those in the area who are interested in seeing a pool again after Juanita's is no longer there to work with the city of Kirkland should attend their meetings, pay attention to them. They're televised just like ours are, kind of keep in the loop themselves. So I think that's good news for the swim community. Ours, obviously, interest is for our students to have a place to continue to be competitive swimmers and programs for our kids at LW, Juanita, Redmond, and Eastlake. So, and everywhere in between. So that, and that was the bulk of what we chatted about. And of course, thank them again for supporting our bond issues and levy. Oh, yes, and yes, we just clarifying too, the support that the board, with the resolution that we had, that we certainly are interested in working with them and providing resources that we might have, and also certainly support from the board as a whole to make sure that we have programs for our students. So, anything else from board as far as reports? If not, our next meeting is oops, sorry.
I probably should report, I was at the Alexander Graham Bell grand opening on the 24th, was it? A couple weeks ago. And it was really nice.
And we actually
It's a lovely new school.
Yeah.
Before that, I was at the, I'm going to go blank on it.
Rush.
The Ben Rush.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy has a very clever way of doing her little speech with the kids. Alexander Graham Bell especially was a big hit. So we're doing really well. I wasn't able to do Rose Hill Middle since it was a Friday.
Yeah.
Were you there?
I was, and it was a very nice turnout and lots of neighbors and happy neighbors there who were sharing how great they thought construction went, and just people so pleased with that building, and it looks beautiful. And Aaron, the principal there, Aaron Bowser, had an article from 1969 when the first Rose Hill was constructed, and it was talking about how, what a flexible plan it had. So it was just kind of interesting to compare and contrast to how, the true flexibility, really, that's now in the building. And she talked about how it's being used, and it was great turnout.
So 3 beautiful new schools. Do we have any others? Or
ICS, they've not yet had their grand opening, though they did have an event, a time capsule event, and so I was there. Mayor Joan McBride from the City of Kirkland was there. They are still in the process of scheduling their grand opening, but we've got the upcoming tours with cities.
Could we put them on the bottom of the next agenda so I can announce them? Because I know they're coming up. They're after the 18th of November.
Well, one's the 13th of November.
One's the 13th. That's one's coming up.
So it's before the next meeting.
And then we have one in December.
December 4th? It's a Wednesday.
Yeah. And so
I
what?
just put them on my calendar.
Yeah.
The 13th is
Rush.
Ben Rush and Rose Hill Middle.
And then the other one is ICS and Bell.
Correct.
You know, the fun thing at the Ben Rush one was the Redmond mayor went to, or opened, was it, the original Ben Rush? That was fun.
It's interesting.
He was a student.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mayor
Yeah.
John Marchini was a student when it first opened.
I can believe that.
And now he's back opening as
Okay.
mayor.
As mayor, love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Our next meeting is November 18th at 5:30, and we will have a board meeting if we have items for the agenda. Otherwise, it will then be a work session. And it'll be on intervention programs in Quest in this room, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion,
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, got a motion, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night, guys.